Hello, and thank you for joining us for a random selection to fill vacancies on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. My name is Sarah Reinhardt, Interim Deputy Chief of External Affairs at the Michigan Department of State, and I'm here today with Stephen Bland from Riemann LLC, the independent accounting firm that has conducted each random selection for Michigan's first ever Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Over 5 years ago, in November of 2018, Michigan voters overwhelmingly passed a constitutional amendment establishing our state's first ever citizen-led redistricting commission. By June of 2020, more than 9,300 Michiganders had applied to serve, and that same year, in accordance with our office's constitutional obligation, the Michigan Department of State administered a series of publicly viewable random drawings to arrive at the final 13 commissioners. We are here again today in our administrative capacity to conduct another random selection for the filling of 3 vacancies on the commission. Last month, our office received written resignations from 3 individual commissioners, each of which is viewable on the commission's website at michigan.gov/MICRC. We thank each of these commissioners for their service to the state of Michigan. The Michigan Constitution, Article 4, Section 6, requires that when a commissioner's seat becomes vacant, the Secretary of State shall fill the vacancy by randomly drawing a name from the remaining qualifying applicants in the selection pool from which the original commissioner was selected. The written resignations were received from 1 commissioner who affiliates with the Republican Party and from 2 commissioners who affiliate with the Democratic Party. Consequently, today's drawing will randomly select 1 individual who affiliates with the Republican Party from a pool of 54 remaining semifinalist applicants, and 2 individuals who affiliate with the Democratic Party from a pool of 52 remaining semifinalist applicants. Those interested in reviewing a list of all remaining semifinalist applicants can find a complete list on the Commission's website at michigan.gov/MICRC. Upon selection, these individuals will become commissioners of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Today's selection to fill vacancies on the commission will be carried out by the independent accounting firm Riemann LLC, which was selected through a public bidding process. With us today from Riemann is Stephen Bland, and I'll now turn things over to Stephen, who will first walk us through the mechanics of the random selection and then conduct the drawing for our 3 new commissioners. Stephen?
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me back to participate in this process. Give me just a moment as I start sharing my screen here. As we have done with the previous random selections, we're going to be using a piece of commercially available software called Caseware IDEA, IDEA. IDEA is intended to be used by CPA firms as auditors to conduct audits and draw random samples. It is perhaps overpowered for the simple task we have for it today, but it does have the benefit of being commercially available software specifically designed for the task of drawing random selections. In order to demonstrate briefly how the software operates, I have loaded in a table of sample random names. I matched the number of records that we have in the semifinalist pool. There were 180 random names here in the group that's called sample data random names. IDEA as software basically imports a table, and I'll show you where the data set for the live draw in just a moment came from. This one is just something I created in Excel and loaded in to demonstrate how the software works. Once imported, I simply go to the Analysis tab for the software, come to the Sampling group, and indicate that I'm going to draw a random sample. When drawing a random sample, you have to tell the software how many items you wish to draw. In this case, because we're going to ultimately have 3 names, I'll demonstrate by picking a sample of 3. As you'll see in a minute, we'll actually have to draw our 3 samples today in 2 buckets in order to keep the different party affiliations discrete. And then it asks for a random number seed. What IDEA has done here is actually generate a random number. If I were to leave and come right back into this screen, you'll find a different number filled in here each time. This is acknowledging the fact that there are limitations with computers that prevent them from being 100% random in their drawing process. We, as a practical matter, overcome that by providing a random number seed at the time of the drawing. So I'm just going to type in a number now. Today is January 3rd, and the time on my computer clock is 3:36. I'll indicate that as my random number seed. Indicate the file name is, we'll say example draw here just to keep it clear. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. The software does the work of making the random selection. It only takes a few seconds, and it will come back here now with an example draw of 3 made-up names that it pulled from the original record set. That's the process we're going to go through with live data now. So to show you, I'm just going to close this sample information, which we don't need. What you have in front of you here is the 180 rows that are in the semifinalist list. The source of this data, as was already stated by Sarah, is on the Commission's website. If you follow the link that she provided through MICRC to About, and then Archives, and then Random Selection, you can see some snippets of our previous selections, and you'll also see the Excel file listed right here, which is the Excel spreadsheet of the 180 semifinalist applicants. The Secretary of the Department of State provided me with a version of the data to use for today's draw. I then independently downloaded this from the website, compared the two, and verified that it is in fact the exact same live data. So that's what I loaded into IDEA. The only addition in the version you see on my screen to the version that's available on the Commission's website is this column, which is labeled Already Selected. The data that's on the website includes the initial 180 semifinalists. We have then gone through and identified the 15 individuals who have been selected at various times through this random process. If I take the data table here and divide it into 4 different buckets, you can see that 15 individuals have already been selected. 52 Democratic affiliating individuals have not yet been selected. 59 have unselected that are not affiliating with either party, and 54 have been not selected who affiliate with the Republican Party. I had to split the data set into these buckets so that as we make our samples, they are unique to the category of individuals. But if you run the numbers here, 15 plus 52 plus 59 plus 54 gives you the full 180 names that are on the list. So going in alphabetical order, I'm going to start with the unselected Democratic pool. Give that just a moment to load the 52 names. You can see in the lower right corner of my screen, the number of records is now 52. These are all Democratic affiliating semifinalists who have not previously been selected. We're going to come to the random selection button. We're going to choose 2 Democratic board members. I have January 3rd. My current computer clock is 3:39 as my random sample. And we're going to call this Selection Democratic. And we'll give the software a moment to make its random selection. We have selected 2 individuals, application ID 46086, which is Elaine Andrade, and application ID 61051, which is Donna Callahan. That completes the Democratic selection. I will now open the table of Republican unselected finalists. We now have 54 records. You'll note that in the lower corner of my screen, that 54 records have been selected. I'm again going to come up to my random selection button. This time I only need to select 1 record. I'm going to drop in my random seed of January 3rd. It is now 3:40 on my computer clock, and name this one Selection Republican, and make the draw. And we have selected application ID 73389. That is Marcus Muldoon. And that concludes the draw. I'll turn things back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Stephen, for your assistance, and congratulations to our newly drawn commissioners. Our team will post the names of the new commissioners on the commission's website shortly. And on behalf of the Secretary of State's office, we commend each of the more than 9,300 applicants who submitted a complete and notarized application nearly 4 years ago, expressing their commitment to fairness, transparency, and citizen involvement in our great state's redistricting process. Since the close of the application period in June of 2020, it is possible, and indeed likely, that circumstances may have understandably changed for some applicants in the semifinalist pool, resulting in an inability to serve as a commissioner. As a result, should a newly selected commissioner's seat become vacant for any reason, the Constitution requires the Secretary of State's office to hold a random selection to fill the vacancy by randomly drawing a new commissioner from the remaining pool of qualified semifinalist applicants, so long as the commission is still operating. To receive updates about the commission and the redistricting process, and for opportunities to stay engaged, visit michigan.gov/MICRC. Inquiries related to the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, as well as written public comment, may be emailed to redistricting@michigan.gov. And with that, we'll close today's random selection. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon.